Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? I hope you guys are all having a great day, a great week, a great weekend, whatever day it is. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope it serves plenty of good information on the case and leaves you feeling satisfied, yet still craving more. On this channel, we go over all things true crime and even some conspiracies as well, diving into all of the details and searching for the truth. Because after all, there can be no real justice without the whole truth. If that sounds like your cup of tea, please go ahead, hit the like button, hit the sub button, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all uploads. They can be sporadic right now due to the deep dive that I'm doing on the Watts case and the fact checking and receipt gathering involved. In a case of this magnitude, it's a lot. So some videos come out sooner than others, and some take a little bit longer, like the one that I'm working on now. To my current supporters, subscribers, and members, thank you all so much from the depth of my soul. You are my inspiration to keep going hard on all of these cases, to debunk rumors, and to get to the truth. To say that I appreciate you all would be a gross understatement, but I will say it anyway because I do. I appreciate all of you so much. Now let's get into today's video by first talking about the end of the last video so we know where we're at. In the last video, we learned that law enforcement already knew about a connection between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger on Tuesday, the 14th of August. They even thought that following Chris's interview with the CBI that he would drive to Nichol Kessinger's apartment. But he didn't. He was at Nick and Amanda Thayer's home the entire night. They know this because they sat outside Nick and Amanda Thayer's home the entire night. While Chris Watts was sleeping, however, law enforcement was awake, and they were busy gathering evidence and information to build their case against him. It is now 12 a.m. on Wednesday, August 15th, 2018. CBI agent Jillian Ganley started a support packet for Nichol Kessinger and listed her as the girlfriend of Christopher Watts. This support packet was created so that CBI agents, Frederick Police Department detectives, and FBI agents could attempt to interview her. This is proof that Nichol Kessinger had not yet come forward, even though it was now entering day 3 of Chris Watts' wife and children being missing. It is further proof that law enforcement were starting to look for her so that they could interview her as soon as possible. So remember in the last video I said that they were wanting background checks on all involved. Well, apparently, quote unquote, all involved did include Nichol Kessinger. Searches were done in an assortment of areas, and all information found on Nichol Kessinger was forwarded to 3 people initially, one of which was CBI agent Kevin Kobach. According to this document, they were looking for her vehicle, and they had already requested her phone records from Verizon Wireless, Nichol Kessinger's phone carrier, and received them. So, before Nikki came forward of her quote-unquote own volition, law enforcement already knew who she was. They knew where she lived, they knew that she was Chris's girlfriend, and they were looking for her and her vehicle. And they already had in their possession her cell phone history from Verizon Wireless. At 5:14 a.m., Sandy Rusick calls the FBI and requested a call back. 5:41 a.m., Nichol Kessinger called her dad for 2 minutes. 6 a.m., a lot starts happening with regard to law enforcement. They are on top of everything, and they are pulling out all the stops. They are no longer looking at this as a missing persons case. They are now thinking homicide. Also at 6 a.m., Nicole Atkinson is wrapping up her overnight shift at work in Denver. 6:10 a.m., Barbara Kivett, Nichol Kessinger's mom, calls her, and they speak for 23 minutes. 6:13 a.m., Nicole Atkinson leaves work. At 6:51 a.m., a woman calls to inform law enforcement that she's a psychic and that the missing woman was speaking to her. Because of this, the caller, psychic Deanna Roberts, believed that Shanann Watts was deceased. She said that she believed that it was possible that the girls were still alive. Now remember, this is 6:51 a.m. on Wednesday the 15th. So 3 days after they went missing. And the psychic is saying it's possible the girls are still alive. The psychic asked if there was a recycle plant close to the house. She said that the missing woman used the word recycle, and it's being said over and over. The psychic said that she was getting images of an open field, possibly behind the woman's home. She was also seeing blue barrels or 55-gallon drums. She was seeing 2 males in overalls, and she left her number to be contacted at. Of course, with psychics, we need to take it with a grain of salt, but given what she saw versus what actually happened, is kind of makes sense. We may or may not get back into that later on. But I do find the recycling plant and blue, I know she said blue barrels, but like the blue recycling bins that were in the neighborhood that Chris very well could have put evidence in, those things do stand out to me. 6:56 a.m., Sandy Rusick calls the Frederick Police Department again, and this time she states that she is the mother of Shanann Watts and she wants some answers now from an officer. She said that she had also left a message for a phone call back with the FBI earlier this morning. 7:11 a.m., Nichol Kessinger called her dad. She's on the phone with him for just 1 minute. Chris Watts said he woke up at 7:30 a.m. and had a protein shake. 7:47 a.m., Chris texted his dad, quote, "Text me when you land, I can pick you up," unquote. At 8 a.m., Tammy Lee received a phone call from Anadarko Regional Security Manager Tony Husky. He advised that he had reviewed Chris Watts' computer network traffic, and it was possible that Chris had started a relationship with an Anadarko contracted employee, and he advised that he had located emails between Chris Watts and the contracted employee, who he identified as Nikki Kessinger. At 8:07 a.m., Jillian Ganley received information from CBI agent Stacey Galbraith that Chris Watts possibly had a girlfriend by the name of Nikki Kessinger. The Verizon wireless cell phone data for Nikki came in, and the document was analyzed by Jillian Ganley and Kevin Hoyland. They were highlighting all calls to and from Chris Watts. At 9:03 a.m., FBI agent Graham Coder texted Chris asking for a callback. 3 minutes later, Chris calls Graham Coder back. Between 9:15 and 9:20 a.m., Ronnie Watts, Chris's dad, lands in Denver. 9:30 a.m., Chris leaves the Thayer's house to go pick up Ronnie from the airport. It is also about this time law enforcement picks back up on interviewing friends of Shanann Watts. These friends included Addie Maloney, Christina Meacham, Cassie Rosenberg, Karen Epps, and Cindy Jurassic. By 12 p.m., all of these women had completed their interviews. 9:37 a.m., Chris told Graham Coder that his father just landed at the airport and that he was on his way to pick him up. 9:49 a.m., Nikki called Frederick Police Department for 3 minutes. At 9:52 a.m., Nikki called Frederick Police Department again for 1 minute. At 10:13 a.m., Chris told Graham Coder he had just picked up his father. During this drive, Chris told his father about the cadaver dog search of the house. He said that police were at the house with black lights looking for blood and stuff like that. Chris also said that the interview with police the night before was very long. At 10:27 a.m., Graham Coder told Chris to swing by the police department whenever he gets a chance and they will make a game plan for the day. The complete nonchalance used is something to note. Law enforcement is all over Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger at this point, yet they're not letting on at all that they already know about Nikki. They have emails and phone records of hers. They have her address, and she thinks she's just going to come dawdling in later today like some good Samaritan. And they're also not letting on to Chris that he's their one and only suspect. With Graham Coder, it's like they're buddies, right? Hey man, just swing by when you get a chance and we'll make a game plan for the day. When really, police have no intention of Chris ever leaving that police department that day without a confession. Like, they are bringing the hammer down today, and they are going to get him to confess. Bringing in the polygraph is all a part of that buildup towards getting that confession. We'll get into that in a minute. 10:53 a.m., Chris begins his second interview with the CBI. His father, Ronnie, is also there at the police department. At 11 a.m., the polygraph machine was brought in and Chris was being prepped to take the test. While Chris is learning all about the polygraph test and being prepped to take it, Ronnie is being questioned in another room.
So how you doing? Stressed out. I totally understand. Anything, what happened or what's going on?
Okay, so I said a minute ago that the polygraph was all part of the build-up towards getting a confession. And what I mean by this is that the polygraph machine itself is a tactical tool used to intimidate. I mean, most people know what a lie detector test is used for, right? If I ask you that question, what is a lie detector used for? You would probably say to detect lies, or to catch someone in a lie, or to see if someone's telling the truth. No matter what, most people believe that the polygraph machine is used to detect deception, that it can tell if a person is lying. But the polygraph machine is only a machine. It does not detect lies or deception. It records physiological responses in a human being. Responses such as heart rate, respiration, sweat gland activity, and blood pressure. For many people, just the thought of having to take one of these tests is nerve-wracking, whether or not one intends on lying, right? Honest people will be nervous that it will detect deception even though they're being honest, and deceptive people will be nervous because they know they're about to lie and they're hoping the machine won't pick up on it. This is why polygraph results do not stand up in court. They are inadmissible in court. The only thing they do is make a person appear to be innocent or guilty based on the results in the court of public opinion. If you pass, you're innocent, and if you fail, you're guilty, according to the general public. But research has repeatedly concluded that these tests are merely props used by investigators to initiate fear. Enough fear that a person they feel is guilty will fail the test. And ironically, they create this fear by being deceptive themselves. The polygraph machine has no way of detecting whether or not you're lying, yet that is exactly what they tell you it does. The accuracy of a polygraph test is between 60 and 70%, which is the same as some interviewing techniques used by detectives to detect whether or not a person is lying. I mean, think about it. 60 to 70% accuracy means that polygraph machines get it wrong 30 to 40% of the time. I mean, I wouldn't bet anything on those odds, let alone my freedom. How about you? Yet, if you say no, bam, you're guilty. Speculation and accusations. Oh my God, he said no because he's guilty. She said no because she's guilty, right?
What kind of discipline did you guys have in the home?
It wasn't like physical or anything like that. It was just, just verbal, this is what you need to do. And just follow that. Like, if my dad ever raised his voice, I knew that wasn't a work phone, sorry.
Oh, okay, I was like,
whoa, forgot about that.
I'm kind of now, I'm not in the middle of the test. No, you're good.
11:38 a.m., Nikki called the Frederick Police Department again for 6 minutes. She is in Thornton. She's at home where she has been. All the other calls that she's made, she's been in Thornton. 11:45 a.m., law enforcement followed up on Shanann's missed doctor's appointment. At 12:20 p.m., law enforcement followed up with Primrose School. At 12:38 p.m., Detective Mark Alera with the FBI called Nichol Kessinger. She is now in Westminster. At 12:52 a.m., Nikki's dad called Nikki for 1 minute. Nikki is now in Wheat Ridge. So she has gone from her home in North Glen to Westminster and is now in Wheat Ridge. 1:15 p.m., David Colon is interviewed. His interview ends at 1:45 p.m. 1:57 p.m., Mark Alera calls Nikki for 1 minute. She is in Wheat Ridge. 1:58 p.m., Mark called Nikki again. 1:58 p.m., Nikki called Mark. And 2 p.m., Nikki called Mark again. At 2 p.m., Commander Egan, members of the CBI, and Luke Apple, a representative from Anadarko, all met up at Love's truck stop to discuss the search of Survey 319 using an aerial system drone. At 2:27 p.m., Leonard King, Shanann Watt's ex-husband, was interviewed, and that ended at 2:48. 2:30 p.m., the polygraph officially began.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still. Regarding Shanann's disappearance, do you intend to answer all of the questions truthfully?
Yes.
Were you born in 1985?
Yes.
Before 2018, did you ever say anything out of anger to a loved one?
Yes. No.
Do you know where Shanann is now?
No.
Are you now in the state of Colorado? Before 2018, have you ever wanted to hurt someone to get even with them?
No.
Did you physically cause Shanann's disappearance?
No.
Is your first name Christopher?
Yes.
Before 2018, did you ever lose your temper with someone you cared about?
No.
Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann?
No.
Portion of the test is complete. Please remain still while I take the instrument out of operation. Alright, how'd you feel? Same as all of it?
I think it was the same through everything.
Thanks for ya.
It's kind of hard to relax.
I know, I get it.
At 3 p.m., the aerial drone is deployed to survey the Survey 319 well site. 3:43 p.m., Nikki calls Mark Alera again, 1 minute. 3:44, Nikki calls Mark again for another minute. At 3:45 p.m., Mark calls Nikki again for 2 minutes. At 3:50 p.m., Cody Roberts' interview began. 4 p.m., agents Tammy Lee and Graham Coder come back to tell Chris that he failed the polygraph test.
So, it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
Chris, stop. It's time. Just
I'm
stop for a minute. Take a deep breath.
This only helps them in their attempt to get a confession out of Chris. They tell him, quote, "You failed the polygraph and I think you know that. So now we need to talk about what really happened," unquote. Chris now feels he has been caught in his lies, but without a confession, law enforcement still cannot hold him, and he would have still been free to leave at that point. This is where I need to say yet again that he is so worried about his image that he doesn't even ask for a lawyer. He knows that failing that polygraph test makes him, quote unquote, look guilty. He also knows that asking for a lawyer would also make him, quote unquote, look guilty. Between the detectives, the polygraph, and his self-centered, egotistical way of thinking, in my opinion, he doesn't even secure his rights. Why? Because it would make him look bad. All of this is making him look bad. Again, just my opinion. 4:15 p.m., the drone locates what appeared to be a bed sheet. On closer inspection, it was a fitted sheet with a pattern that was an exact match for a flat sheet and pillowcase that was found in the kitchen trash can of the Watts house earlier that day. The drone search also revealed fresh movement of dirt consistent with a clandestine grave near the area of the oil tanks. 4:17 p.m., Binion Survey, owner of Survey Ranch, was contacted and gave consent for law enforcement to search the property and to collect any evidence found. 4:30 p.m., crime scene analyst Yoakum was tasked to respond to a remote location in Roggen, Colorado, to process a scene where the missing persons had allegedly been taken to and disposed of. Chris, still in the interview room, had asked to speak to his father, and Tammy Lee and Graham Coder allow it. At 4:43 p.m., Ronnie Watts is let in to talk with his son. Chris tells his dad that he failed the polygraph and says that, quote, "they aren't going to let me go," unquote.
Tell us how long you think, or?
It's the polygraph. Failed it. Yeah, because there's
Too much emotions.
So I mean, they're not gonna let me go.
Chris is saying that it's because of the affair, because he tried to hide that, but he admitted to it after the test was failed.
They know I had an affair. And they know. I can't think about that.
Anybody got an affair?
No one was buying that, though. It was a good try on Chris's behalf, but he was never asked questions about an affair, and he knew before the test, during the prep for it, what the questions he was going to be asked would be, none of which were about affairs, infidelity, or any other relationship other than the one with his wife and daughters. It is my observation that Ronnie responded to Chris's statement about the affair as though he already had talked to Chris about it. Ronnie knew about the affair, in my opinion. I believe Chris confided that affair to his father while he was in North Carolina. I mean, he was talking to Nikki the entire time he was there, and he stayed with his parents at their house without Shanann or the girls. Mark Jameson is another one of Chris's people that allegedly knew about the affair. And he knew about it all the way back when Shanann and Chris made that San Diego trip with Thrive. Chris allegedly told Mark Jameson about Nikki during that San Diego trip. Chris then tells his dad about what happened that morning, only this version is much different than the version he's been telling everyone else so far. Take a listen.
What happened or anything, or you know anything about?
When we had that conversation that morning, it was, it was emotional. It was told her about separation and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. What happened after that?
I mean, I went downstairs and I don't want to protect her.
What?
I don't want to protect her.
You don't want to protect her?
I don't know what else to say.
He then drops this bomb on his dad and says, quote, "I don't want to protect her," unquote. Ronnie repeats that back to Chris, like, wait, am I hearing you right? And then asks, quote, "She hurt him?" unquote. And Chris says, quote, "Yeah," unquote.
Huh?
She hurt him?
Yeah. And then I
What now?
freaked out and I hurt her.
You hurt her? Did they leave after that or what? So she started hurting the kids.
They were.
He then says that she either smothered or choked them, like he didn't know for certain.
What? She smothered him. Or choked him. No.
I didn't hear anything. When I was downstairs, I came back up and they were gone.
And allegedly, this was because he saw all of this through the baby monitors, that he had caught Shanann in the act of taking Cece's life on the baby monitor when it would switch back and forth.
She freaked out over the separation and everything.
She laid like down, but that's when I went downstairs, but I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it.
Mm-hmm. And then you went back upstairs and she was...
I could see like she was on top of me.
What, choking her or... Did she kill her?
They're blue.
Both of them.
Yeah.
She choked both of them to death.
I freaked out at the same thing with her.
At 4:57 p.m., Chris confesses to CBI agents Tammy Lee and Graham Coder that after witnessing Shanann take Cece's life and knowing she had also taken Bella's life, he then kind of just snapped and, quote, did the same thing to her, unquote, her being Shanann.
What'd you do?
Blue. kids.
What happened?
Nothing that hurt.
Who, Shannon?
He maintains with conviction that he did not hurt his kids. And this is the first time we see any emotion from Chris Watts. And he's adamant throughout this entire rest of the questioning that he did not hurt his kids.
Is there any other way where we might see your hands on the girl's neck?
No, Lord, no.
Okay.
So, do you want to tell us the truth?
That is the truth. Did not hurt this girl.
So I want to make sure.
Did not hurt this girl.
So you're good with the public knowing that Shanann killed her daughters?
I did not hurt these girls.
Are you okay with the public knowing that Shanann?
Yes, because I did not hurt these girls.
I don't think you meant to.
I didn't hurt them.
I don't think you meant to.
I didn't hurt them.
You didn't save them either. You know?
I know that. I know that.
And I played a lot of that in one of the last videos I made. I believe it was the video about the 2 phones, I think, but we'll definitely go over that again. At 5:37 p.m., Nikki's dad calls Nikki for 1 minute. 5:57 p.m., Nikki, her dog, her dad, all meet with FBI agents Mark Alera and Detective Philip Jones at Majestic View Park for Nikki's first interview in person. This, in my opinion, would be the beginning of the act of ignorance. I could have said innocence, but it is more ignorance, in my opinion, because it's always all about Nikki, right? Like, she has no clue what the hell's going on with anybody else, nor does she care, in my opinion. She's only really interested in her situation in all of this. No matter what she says, her responses and her general tone is not really about Shanann and her babies. Not in my opinion, at least. Anyway, take a listen.
I met Chris at work. He's not like one of my direct coworkers. He just like works kind of in passing in the same office building as me. I met him, I don't know, probably around the beginning of June, maybe before that. And we kind of talked in passing and then started to get to know each other. We started hanging out pretty frequently around, I want to say like the last week of June, somewhere around there, since of the separation from his wife. As far as I knew, that was becoming pretty finalized. And then Monday afternoon, he told me that she was like gone and he didn't know where she was. And at that point, I don't think that it set off any alarms in my head, just because, I mean, I have friends that I text, and if I don't hear from them for like 3 hours or 6 hours or even like a couple days, I don't feel concerned about where they're at because it's kind of a standard thing for me. But then she didn't come home that night. I was like, okay, well, maybe she'll come back. And I was kind of under the impression, since they're separating, that maybe she decided to take the kids. Maybe she decided to just leave for a few days. I don't know. I felt like maybe she was just trying to get some space. And I figured maybe that was why she left her stuff there, to just get some quiet. And then yesterday rolled around and she's still not around. And that started to seem really concerning for me, that people still don't know where she is, and they don't know where those little girls are. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I hope something did not happen to her and did not happen to her children. And that was when I decided that it's probably a good idea to just come talk to you guys and just let you know that I've been spending time with Chris, and that's as far as this got. So that's it.
Now, I can totally understand what she says about not being concerned about it on the 13th, thinking Shanann just wanted space. Nikki was going off of what she would want if it were her, so that much I get. At 5:52 p.m., Chris marks the spots on a photo taken of Survey 319 where investigators can find the bodies of his family.
That looks familiar to you? What is that?
It's the UPRC Survey 319.
Okay. Whereabouts is Shanann and the girls?
How old is this picture?
Today.
That's today.
Okay, can you mark it for me? Thanks. I think it's the paper, it's just kind of, yeah. Is that S for Shanann? Okay, and where are the girls at?
Here.
In these?
Mm-hmm.
So which one is, do you know which one?
Are they in the tanks? Can somebody who doesn't know what they're doing open those? Okay, it's easy to open.
What's in the tanks?
It's a mixture of oil and water.
"6:20 p.m., CSA Yoakum arrives at Survey 319. Both CBI and Frederick Police Department had already utilized the GPS tracker on Chris's work truck to locate all of Chris's movement on the morning of the 13th, but now they knew for sure that the bodies were there. At 6:30 p.m., Ronnie was taken to the Lexus, which was parked out front, to get his bag out of it, and then they proceeded to find a hotel nearby for him to stay in. This was actually really hard for me to watch. This is Papa Ronnie, and he's even wearing a shirt that says Papa Ronnie on it. They drive him around hotel to hotel because many of these hotels are booked up until they finally find a hotel that he can stay at in Firestone. And our tornado sirens are going off. You guys know I live in Chicago, and the weather's just been nasty here lately. Hear that? Anyway, this is the empath in me taking over. Watching this grandpa who just flew across the country wearing his Papa Ronnie shirt being driven around after finding out his grandbabies are dead and his son was just taken into custody for murder was just heartbreaking to me to watch.
Is that all your stuff? Oh, that's all I have. Okay, that's all I have. You don't have to follow up with the PD. So I'll just have you sit in the back there, sir. And then, yep. It's kind of goofy. Your seatbelt's on the left-hand side there. No, it's your seatbelt's right there. You all right? Yep. Dispatch Frederick Community. Be giving a cruiser ride to one adult male to the area East Frontage and Firestone Boulevard. I'll advise location when we arrive. And then there's another one over there. So if you want to go, I'll let you out and you can go in and. You don't want me to wait for you? Okay. Let me get out and let you out. I can grab that for you. All right. If you want, I can get on the phone and call Comfort Suites and see if they have vacancies. Yeah, do you guys have any vacancies? Okay. Okay. She's helping someone at the desk. We might as well drive there. What's that? Okay.
The Lexus is seized and towed to police impound by Brad's Towing. 6:34 p.m. All right, I don't know if I should be concerned at this point. Let me I hear a bunch of banging too. Hold on. Let me stop this and I'll have to pick back up later.
5 hours later.
Okay, so that was really weird and freaky. The weather here has been crazy. It's already snowed twice since I was filming that part. So, yeah, tornado sirens one day, snow the next. Welcome to the Midwest. Anyway, before we move on, though, I really want to take a minute because we were talking about Ronnie and them driving him around trying to find hotels for him to stay at, and everything was booked, and my heart just like sunk for him. And I really just want to take a minute to acknowledge the depth of what Chris Watts really did. He not only annihilated his immediate family, he annihilated the future of both sides of their whole entire families. Both the Watts and the Rusicks' futures were also taken on August 13, 2018. Their future with their grandkids and their future of ever living a quote-unquote normal life again. His senselessness and selfishness took the lives of everyone who knew and loved them. Him. These people loved him, not just Shanann, Bella, Cece, and the baby that was to come. And for what? A woman who couldn't even show an ounce of compassion towards any of them or the situation as a whole? I just felt the need to say that because I got completely interrupted while I was talking about it, and I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. So the Lexus is seized and towed to police impound by Brad's Towing. At 6:34 p.m., Sandy calls for an update on what is going on, saying that it has been 6 hours since she heard anything. She was going to find out very soon that what she had felt she had known for this entire time was true, that her daughter and all 3 grandbabies were no longer alive. What I can only assume she wasn't prepared for was Chris blaming Shanann for the death of the girls, though I also don't think she was super shocked by it. He wanted to act as more of a vigilante than a cold-blooded murderer, and that's what cowards tend to do. But there is still a possibility that Chris Watts really didn't kill his daughters, that someone else did. Some think that someone else was Shanann, as Chris originally claimed. But most of the general public believes that if Chris Watts didn't hurt his girls, then Nichol Kessinger was the only other person with a motive to do so. Police were hinting at that a lot, but they never really pressed Nikki on it. In fact, they pressed a couple of others way harder than they ever pressed Nichol Kessinger. In my opinion, it was like they were dead set on Chris Watts doing this alone. And if he had any help whatsoever, they were dead set on it not being Nichol Kessinger. At 7 p.m., Nikki called her mom for 1 minute. She is in Arvada now, where her dad lives. 7:54 p.m., Ann Meadows, the realtor, is interviewed. 8:35 p.m., Nikki called her mom, and they talked for 17 minutes. She is now in Denver. At this point, she may be staying at Jim's house or apartment. She told Chris that that was her plan, and according to her phone records, there are no calls to or from Jim until August 18th, which would make sense if she were staying with him, right? There's really no reason to call. He's off work. She's not at work. So they're probably just sitting in his apartment talking about all that's going on. 8:41 p.m., Sandra called again for an update. 8:50 p.m., the Lexus was officially secured as evidence. 9:57 p.m., Frank Rusick called, wanting to know why the house was taped off. He found this information out through a neighbor, which I can only assume was Nate Chernastich. I don't know the protocol for something like this, but I'm guessing that they can't tell the family anything until after Chris is physically taken into custody. And maybe this is for the safety of the perpetrator. I don't know. And it also could maybe be to keep the information from the media until the suspect is in secure custody, so they don't have a circus in front of the police department. But again, I can only imagine the sheer frustration the Rusicks are feeling being kept in the dark for so long. Every second, they are feeling more and more sure that their loved ones are dead and that law enforcement knows but isn't telling them. At 10:05 p.m., photos are taken of Chris looking to identify any marks or defensive wounds. They also take into account his tattoos and any significant identifying marks. There isn't much to see when it comes to defensive wounds other than a mark on the left side of his neck, which appeared to be more likely a mosquito bite that he scratched. There was also a small mark on the front of his neck, and that was pretty much it.
Okay. Close-up show the hands like this.
Yeah.
And then flipped over. Yeah, there's close-ups of his arms and chest and stuff.
You put your hands down. Turn around for me again. Turn and face this wall, please. And face me.
Seems like a mosquito bite or something like that. Oh, okay.
And then face out like this. And I'm just going to take one of your face. Okay. And then can you tilt your head down for me? And then hike up your, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead and hike up your shorts a little bit.
Maybe kind of put them down just a little bit. There you go. Kind of shadowy.
Okay, and then turn around for me.
10:12 p.m., Officer Walgie of Frederick Police Department went to the Watts home to execute a search warrant. Now, you may be thinking, damn, how many times can law enforcement search a house? Weren't they there searching multiple times by now? And yes, but they were more surface level searches, looking for any immediate or obvious identifiers that there was a struggle or death inside the home. These prior searches were minimal, and they were all authorized by Chris Watts himself. This search was authorized by a judge and would be a much more thorough search with evidence actually being taken out of the home. Dieter is quite unhappy with all of this, as you will hear.
Anybody else show up? There's a few news crews out there. I saw 4 cameras. 4. So yeah, somebody else showed up.
Yeah, so where are they? Where's the one?
Bella's this one up here. That was the fan.
This is motion on here. This is what we gotta be real careful about. I gotta take a lot of pictures of his perspective.
Brad's on scene.
Can you go out and make sure that truck gets loaded up correctly?
Okay.
We don't have the keys that I'm aware of. So
Okay.
it's just you've sealed it, right? Okay. Yeah, if you, I don't want to leave over because I'll stand up here. Okay. So you can handle that real quick. Yep.
That poor little guy. He had his whole life torn upside down as well. You can even see him walking around with his tail between his legs, not knowing what to do with himself. And some might say, oh my God, he's just a dog. But most of us would say he was a part of the family, a pack, if you will. And he's now there alone without his pack, and his territory is being invaded by unknown individuals. It was probably terrifying for him, plus whatever he saw over the last couple of days. Now, here you can see the baby monitor and what Chris was talking about when he said that the monitor switches back and forth from Bella and Cece's bedroom. This is how he said he saw Shanann on top of Cece. He said it looked like Bella was sleeping until he went into her room and he saw that she was blue. He said when the screen switched to Cece's room, he saw Shanann in the act of having just finished taking Cece's life. He said that was when he snapped and he took Shanann's life.
Go back in there. Go back in there. Well, I'll tell you when you're done. Keep going. Hold on and keep switching. Okay, now the other one.
At 10:15 p.m., Chris's work truck is taken into police custody with Brad's towing. At 10:29 p.m., Frank called law enforcement and said that he wants contact ASAP. They had just found out via the news that Chris had been arrested for homicide. Okay. I mean, in this day and age, even more so now, but even back in 2018, the media is going to learn these things fast. The fact that they knew Chris confessed to all of them being deceased back at 6-something p.m. in the evening, and the Rusiks still found out via the news, is a bit maddening. That should never happen. The news and media, journalists, reporters, people like me should not know these things before a family. And to be quite frank, it's not our problem to fix. I mean, we're all assuming that the family knows more than we do. Always. So if we're reporting on it, we're under the impression that the family always knows more than we do. At least in my case, like where I'm coming from. I can't speak for others who report on true crime, but in my opinion, that's all on law enforcement, not reporters, not journalists. If the media knows before a family, then that's a leak within law enforcement. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But either way, in my opinion, that's law enforcement's problem. And I will wholeheartedly agree that it is a big, big problem. 10:37 p.m., Nick and Amanda Thayer arrive at the Watts home to retrieve Dieter. We already saw how upset Dieter was, and he is still not cooperating with law enforcement to get him inside his crate for transfer.
Stop right there. Do not pull into the driveway. Okay, I need you to park over there. We will have the dog brought out to you.
Officer Lyons stops the Thayers right away when they arrive from pulling into the driveway, and this is obviously to keep the scene secure. That scene that has already been contaminated by people over the last couple of days, but they still need to secure it.
Folks are here to pick up the dog.
Okay. I'm gonna try to catch her first. Keep her outside.
Copy.
Here you will see too, Nate Chernastich and his wife are all up in the business.
So it's going to be a few minutes. They're trying to catch that dog. So.
What about is it possible to get food and all that good stuff? I know.
Probably not. I mean, they're not going to. No, it's not going to happen. I can't.
If possible, he has a black blanket that's usually on the couch.
He's being really uncooperative, so we're going to be lucky to get him in the kennel and out the door at this point. So I know that's not the best news, but for right now, we can at least get him out. Meanwhile, just stay here. We can stop you guys. Can't have anybody going past the property line, so just hang. We'll get him to you, okay?
279 will be entering the east garage to clear it.
She's right there. This vehicle right here. They were asking about food. I told them I didn't know if that was a possibility or not. Back up for me. Yep.
I got food. I got dog food.
I don't know if it was accessible in there or not. Okay.
I'll get free dog food at my house on the way out.
What's that?
You don't have to.
They were asking.
From inside. I'll give them the rest of my bag.
He's gonna go look. It's fine.
I got blue. I got the rest of the dog bag. I got 2 bags.
They don't have it. I got some.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. It's okay.
As long as you stay on this side of the line.
That's fine. You guys in this circumstance, but they got it taken care of. They got it taken care of. We have an urban farm. They got it taken care of. But I will tell her parents tomorrow. That you guys have the dog and you guys will take care of, that part of it. And I'm sure they'll be flying out tomorrow or something. So obviously, I think we have proof. Yeah, I told them the same thing. They'll probably come. Honest truth, they'll probably come stay with me. There's the dog food. That's it.
That's all I need is a dog with diarrhea for the process.
Thank you guys for taking care of this part of it and giving at least one of us the dog.
Are we good to go? Do you guys need anything from us?
I think we're good, right, Sarge?
We're good. Appreciate this.
That's awesome.
Okay. Good?
Yep, good.
See you guys later.
Yeah, I'll talk to them and let them know what's going on. Obviously, I'm not going to call them right now.
Yep.
But I'm guessing sometime tomorrow they'll get in touch with me and ask me what's going on because they have no idea from there. I've been their contact since this whole thing started. We'll be home all day tomorrow.
Nate acting as though he runs the show. I mentioned in a prior video Nate being all up in the business, and here you can see what I'm talking about. I even have a clip of him almost arguing with law enforcement somewhere, and if I can find it, I'll put it in here, but he just inserts himself so far up into this that it's almost annoying.
My camera is what gave you guys all this information.
Okay.
You guys have our password and everything.
Okay.
Is there any way you can send someone over that would know about that and know what we need to do as far as that whole situation is concerned?
What do you mean? What situation?
They have our password, they have everything. Should we change our password now, or should we leave it open for investigation? I don't know what to do.
I will have the detective in charge of the case contact you.
Thank you.
Right now,
well,
definitely isn't the time.
Well, obviously.
Probably not in the next couple days.
Obviously.
But
I just want to know, obviously, do we leave it open, don't touch it? Do we...
Right now, I would not touch it.
Okay.
And then I'll have him contact you.
That's all I'm asking.
Because he's got all your information.
Yeah.
Because I gave him all your information.
That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
Because, yeah, I don't know what to do with it.
Do nothing.
No.
For now.
Okay. I just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what to do. I've never been through this before, like...
Yep, I will have them contact you, okay?
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
I mean, I get it that the Rustics are probably very grateful to him, but I can also get why law enforcement are over it when it comes to civilians traipsing around the house while they are there trying to investigate a homicide of 4 people. I mean, it's got to be pretty crazy. And nowadays, like myself, I would never just go to a house with cameras and start invading people's space. I'm reporting on this case. This case happened 6 years ago. If it were happening now, I wouldn't be one of those people that's there. To me, that's too much. Anyway, eventually the dog is brought out, secured, the Thayers are given his food, and off they go. For anyone who doesn't already know, Dieter is with Shanann's family. I believe it is Frankie that has him. At least that's what I found when I tried to figure out where he was. So he's safe, he's fine, he's with family. Next, we're going to get into the Survey 319 scene and recovery of evidence there, and the recovery of the bodies as well. But we will get into all of that in the next video. Yes, this is where I'm going to end episode 9. The next episode will be the final episode in part 3, which is the complete timeline. I don't care if that video ends up being 2 hours long. 10 episodes is already insane. So episode 10 will conclude the timeline. And we will then get into part 4, which I am still deciding what we're going to talk about first. As I said at the beginning, I may put up a poll on my community page for you guys to vote on a few topics that you want to hear about ASAP. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. It's free and it supports me more than anything else. Likes and subs. That is the best way you can support me and my channel. I also want to give an extra special thank you to my members, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Please have a great rest of your week, your weekend. Please be safe, be happy, be healthy, and most of all, be unapologetically you. Bye-bye.